Hello and welcome to another video on the Life After Brady channel. Today we're going to take a look at the NFC North and how they stand as of 2020. We're recording currently in the beginning of August, obviously with opt-outs and COVID. Who knows what this will look like by the time we get around to actually playing football games in September, but here's how we look as of August. First, we'll take a look at the Green Bay Packers, the division winners from a year ago. They finished 13-3, second in the conference, and lost to the San Francisco 49ers in that conference championship game. Was that a little false hope, though? They were 15th in points, 9th in points against in terms of DVOA. The offense was better than that 15th. They were 8th. The passing was below the rushing. The passing numbers were 11th, and the rushing numbers were 4th. Defensively, which is really what felt like led the team, 9th seems a little low for where they felt like they were, but 15th in DVOA, 9th going against the pass, 23rd going against the run. They seem to be up a lot last year. I don't have a statistic for that, but they seem to be up a lot, so that's why the running seems to me a little lower. Matt LaFleur enters his second season, and Aaron Rodgers enters his 13th season as a starting quarterback, obviously after a couple years behind Brett Favre. But the 36-year-old Aaron Rodgers had a little bit of a down year to me. The last 2 years he's been below 5% touchdown percentage, which is the lowest he's been in his career, and actually last year was the lowest completion percentage of his career, which we'll get into in a second. To me, it's all about, there's Aaron Rodgers, there's Davante Adams, and there's not much else. I mean, Aaron Jones is there, but he's a significant step below the McCaffreys, the Zeke Elliott's, and those guys. To me, he's a B-plus runner. Maybe he's that Dalvin Cook type, tier at least. Obviously, they're different types of players, but that tier of player. So let's look a little bit more about Rodgers. This is from Warren Sharp Stats. This is looking at his completion percentage. The last 2 years, 2018 is the light blue, and the reddish color is 2019, and then the dotted line is the league average. Both years he's been pretty much below league average, and that really wasn't a big change last year compared to the year before with Matt LaFleur's new offense there, which is a bit surprising in that scheme of things. But we look here, which is going to show you 2018 versus 2019 again, same colors, but with play action pass, and significantly better last year. You see the huge gap, basically, 5 to 10 yards, he's at 80 to 75% completion percentage guy versus below 50% the year before that. So a really big change with play action, and obviously they used more of it, which is why he was a little bit more successful last year, but still, 62% not that successful. To me, though, when you look at it, it's about Davante Adams is what scares me. This is, again, from Warren Sharp Stats. This is his QB rating based on where he's throwing it, so 15 yards or less, and then right, middle, or center. Obviously, throwing to right in the middle, he's significantly better than throwing to his left, is what it looks like based on the color. Looking at 92 and 85 on the left-hand side of a QB rating versus 105 and 107. Pretty significant difference. And then you see first, second, and third down, those differences as well. Kind of what scared me a little bit. The third down, 88, 92, 94, all below 15 yards. That's pretty telling to me that they weren't a threat passing the ball on third down. They didn't have play action. That's what that kind of tells me of we knew you were going to pass it and we could stop it, is what that looks like to me there. But obviously their defense is what they're looking to build on, along with that rushing attack. And defense wasn't as strong as I thought. The defensive line was second to last in adjusted sack percentage per Football Outsiders with 5%, and then second to last in adjusted line yards running the ball with 5 yards. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what that means, but it does tell me the defensive line wasn't as good as you thought they were. I think they had some timely sacks with the Smith brothers. They obviously were very impressive, but maybe not as strong as we thought, and I don't know how repeatable it will be year over year. And then to get into that repeatability, the interceptions. They had the third most interceptions in the league with 17, allowed the fifth fewest passing touchdowns. I think this defense is special, especially these defensive backs, Jair Alexander and company. I just don't know how repeatable those interceptions are. And some of those drive stoppers, does that go from 17 to 10, and those interceptions turn into field goals and things like that. And I think that could be problematic. They did have the sixth best red zone percentage at 50%. I do think that can continue. And the defense is primarily back and then primarily young. The only big loss was Blake Martinez, who led the team in tackles. it's big, but as we know, tackles are not the leading indicator of what a defense can do, and I think you can replace tackles, middle linebackers, pretty easily, and guys that tackle. Let's take a look at the team that finished second to the Packers, the Minnesota Vikings. They finished 10-6 in 2019 before beating the Saints in the wild card on the push-off by Kyle Rudolph, and then lost to the San Francisco 49ers, which is where you kind of expect them to be. They're that 8-8, 10-6 team that's good, but you don't see this team get over the edge. Let's all be honest. Maybe they sneak into a conference championship game, but highly unlikely. Offensively and defensively, they were pretty good. 8th in points for, 5th in points against. DVA slightly worse. 10th in offense, 10th in passing, 16th in rushing. That was a bit surprising to me of a team that loves to tell you how they're going to run the ball down your throat. It's 16th in efficiency. That's a bad sign, which is why you probably shouldn't be doing as much as you are. But Mike Zimmer got a contract extension. That's not changing. Defensively, they were very good, 7th, and 8th, respectively, across the board. And Mike Zimmer, as I said, got a contract extension as he enters his 7th season. He's made the playoff 3 times. The one thing I will point out, so this is a little word vomit here, but he has not had 3 years in a row where he improved the record. So they could improve from year 1 to year 2, but year 3 never improved in year 2. They basically go back and forth between that 7-9, 8-8, and then 10-6, and they don't go from 8-8 to 10-6 to 12-4. They don't do that, and I expect them to keep not doing that. Big news for me: Stefon Diggs traded. It makes sense. He wasn't happy. They are not a team that's looking to pass the ball as much, so I don't think this will hurt them significantly. But it does just put a cap to me of whether they go 12-4. I think they'll keep going 10-6 and things like that because of trades like this, but hard to really push past it if you're not going to use offensive talent like that. And just the Kirk Cousins effect, they were 1-4 in the regular season against teams that finished with a winning record. Not surprising. You see the lack of offensive balance, 30th in pass attempts, 4th in rushing attempts. And then Kirk Cousins, per Next Gen Stats, had the 3rd highest differential of what he was expected to complete versus what he did complete. He was expected to have a 63.5 basically completion percentage. He ended up with a 69% completion percentage. Pretty significant. So to me, it tells me you could regress year over year. But we'll see, though. They did replace Stefon Diggs with Jefferson and then add to that defense. We'll see how that goes. Let's look at the rushing, which is where they like to make their money. Dalvin Cook was best over left guard. That's what the chart on the right is showing you, of that success rate of 58%. Pretty bad, over the left guard. The right guard, he was atrocious, 21%. And as he averaged 4.3 yards per carry. He was decent on first down, very good in the second down, 5.4 yards per carry, and then rough on third down. He basically had a 3-1 rushing attempt lead over secondary back Alexander Madison. I think that will continue in 2020. He's good. He's quite good. He's that Melvin Gordon type to me. He's looking at probably an $8 to $10 million contract, I would imagine, but nothing special. You really struggle of why they want to revolve everything around the running game, especially him, when you have guys like Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs and now Justin Jefferson. So we'll see what they do in 2020. I imagine they won't change much, and you're looking at another 8-8, 10-6 season as they compete with teams like the Chicago Bears. After the double joint the year before, they finished 8-8 last year, 3rd in the division. Just, huge difference between the offense and the defense here. Offense was 29th, defense was 4th. Offense was 25th in DVOA, 19th in passing, 26th in the rushing. The rushing is what I think particularly is troubling. It's hard, though, to fully articulate, is the rushing bad because the rushing's bad, or the rushing's bad because the passing's bad, and we just have no faith that Mitch Trubisky can beat us or throw it deep, so we're just going to stack the box and force him to beat us deep, and that didn't happen. I don't know exactly why. I think I looked at their 8+ defenders in the box percentage, and it wasn't a crazy number, but it's not like they're really attacking defenses, obviously. And then on their defensive side of the ball, 8th in DVOA, which is pretty impressive. Their schedule is ranked the hardest for defenses, and I have a stat there down below that they face the worst field position. Basically, their offense put them in the worst position. I think Khalil Mack is 29 years old going into 2019. He has fewest sacks last year since his rookie year with 8.5. And as I said, Trubisky just doesn't attack down the field. He had 3.4 completed air yards per pass attempt in 2019. I mean, you might as well just throw a screen at that point. That is nothing. Yeah, there's no threat there, which is why the offense was so bad. They were in bad position, which is how they got 25th in third down percentage, and then when they did go for on fourth down, they were 28th. So, just not good. Digging a little bit more into that rushing, though, basically everyone below 4 yards a carry. This doesn't explain why. It just shows you a little bit more that they're bad. Tariq Cohen ran it 64 times. I don't know if that's a high number. It always seemed like they were trying to, balance him a little bit more than they probably should have. 5 runs on third down seems a bit low to me. That's when you're passing the ball. We'll change it up. Run a draw, things like that. That seems a little low. And then predictably, first, second, third down, they run the ball less with Montgomery. Again, showing how predictable they are. And then last but not least, the Detroit Lions missed the playoffs last year, 3-12-1 on the year, 18th in points for, 26th in points against. Offense was 18th in DVOA, defense was 28th. Hard to articulate, though, those offensive numbers to me of Matthew Stafford played the first 8 games, then missed the second 8 games with injury. The backup quarterbacks were atrocious, so really hard to put together those numbers. And the defense, I think, really quit. Obviously didn't mesh with Matt Patricia, who has 9 total wins in the first 2 seasons. It's a make-or-break year in 2020 for him. And then Darius Slay traded for a 3rd and 5th round pick to the Eagles before they added Jeff Okudah and DeAndre Swift. I think 2 guys that really could impact immediately. You'd hope so. They're 2 top 35 picks, but certainly could be difference makers. Really, to me, one of these running backs needs to break. Kerryon Johnson from a couple of years back, and now DeAndre Swift. They need to balance Matthew Stafford and Kenny Golladay with actual rushing talent, and one of these guys needs to do it. Obviously, the offensive line has a lot to do it, but I think one of these rushers really needs to step up and be to steal from their division, a Dalvin Cook type of back, if this team is going to be successful. Wrapping up, we'll take a look at the overall division. No team has repeated as division winners since the 2014 Packers. I think that is of note. That's why, I don't have a lot of faith in the Vikings, but, the Vikings are due to come back and win because I don't have faith in the Lions or Bears. And the Packers, no one's repeated in 6 years. So, could be trouble in paradise with LaFleur and Rodgers. So I think that's interesting. Their division winner has lost in the NFC title game 3 out of the last 4 years. I think kind of showing where that division's at. It's a good division. Packers, Bears, Lions, not so much Lions, but could be. Packers, Bears, Vikings, they're all good teams. They're just not great teams. You kind of see them predictably losing in the NFC title game. You don't have a lot of faith that they could win that game. And then this year they'll play the AFC South and the NFC South. A couple things I'm looking for this year. Can the rushing attack carry the Packers? They drafted A.J. Dillon. Aaron Rodgers continues to get older, and the quarterback coach, Matt LaFleur, continues to have less faith in him, apparently. So can that rushing attack carry them? Can the Vikings replace Stefon Diggs? I think probably. I just don't know how many wins that's worth. Is it basically he's just the same? And then Matt Nagy and then Matt Patricia, can they survive this season? I tweeted this out the other day. Will COVID affect job security? With guys opting out and just the unpredictability and just how much you're managing versus coaching. But these 2 guys, I think, are gone after this season. Just time has run its course. I could see the GMs going with them. Just the predictability of the NFL of, a third to a quarter of the coaches get fired a year. And I think these are the 2 probably hottest candidates, along with Doug Marrone, to lose their job this season. If you enjoyed the video, please comment below on what you thought, what you disagreed with, what you agreed with, and what you're looking forward to in the 2020 season. With that, have a good one.